Were you accused of anything in those summons?
General oversight?
Yes.
Yes.
What were the accusations?
We just talked about them. Number one was that I alleged that there was discrimination in budgeting.
Let's go to the letter which summoned you here. And tell me if there are accusations or if you are summoned or invited to give information.
Guide members, which page and which document?
We're getting it. Though we may submit on it, it is in his bundle. In DG4, page 92.
Good. You still remember the question, DG?
If you could repeat the question, Chair.
Please
Were
repeat.
there any accusations leveled against you, or you were invited to provide information as to your utterances?
So this letter says invitation to appear before the County Assembly Committee on General Oversight. And
Were there any accusations against you?
I need guidance on this.
I'm asking you, were there any accusations against you? It is you testifying, not your advocate. Yes or no?
Just let me go through the document. So I was invited to appear before the General Oversight to shed light on my utterances about the governor and his administration within 14 days.
Thank you. Shed light.
Yes.
Thank you. No further question.
Done. Good. Now it's members. It's our time to, unless you have an issue.
Can I take just a few minutes for a few issues in the examination?
Yeah. 5 minutes?
20 minutes?
Oh. No.
On the outer limit.
You know we want to break for lunch at 2. Can I give you 10? 10.
10.
Strictly 10, eh? All right. Good. 10 now? Start. Yeah.
Deputy Governor, just a few issues in re-examination and clarification. You have been shown a letter that appears on page 92 and 93 of DG4. 92 and 93 of DG4.
Yes.
I just want you to confirm whether that letter is preceded by a motion of the Assembly.
Yes, it is.
And where is that motion?
The motion
1991.
1991. It's not dated. It's 1991.
And does the motion contain more information than that is contained in the letter sent to you?
Yes, it does.
Such as?
the discriminatory budget reallocations disadvantage the residents of Alego Songa. Certain officers are targeted for removal from the county. Funds for finishing Siaya Stadium have been reallocated to build Migwena. There are people in the county services who want him, the deputy governor, out of the office because of his stand against corruption.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, there was correspondence that passed between you and the clerk to the Siaya County Assembly in respect of your appearance both before the Committee of General Oversight and before the Special Committee on Impeachment. And I want to refer you, Deputy Governor, to a letter on page 531 of DG files.
Members, DG 531.
531?
Yes.
Now, I want you to confirm very quickly, Bwana DG, that in that letter, the clerk to the Assembly confirms that the statements that are sent to you now in respect of your impeachment have been, or were statements that were before and were considered by the Committee of General Oversight.
Yes, it relates, yes. Please find attached the following statements received from the underlisted officers as they relate to their submission to the Assembly Committee on General Oversight during investigations, yes.
And they were considered, and that is contained in the report of the Committee of General Oversight?
Yes.
And I want you to confirm whether you received any statements other than those 6 statements set out in that letter for the impeachment or in respect of the impeachment proceedings before the County Assembly.
None.
It is those statements you
It is these statements that they used for my impeachment.
Good. I want to refer you to another letter in that sequence of letters, and that letter is to be found at page 533. I want you to quickly read the last paragraph.
Kindly be informed that the motion being processed now is an impeachment motion, quite different from the motion originally requested, requesting you and other county executive officers to submit to the Committee on General Oversight evidence on allegations raised by yourself aforetime, which motion was already dispensed with. However, we note that some of the issues on impeachment motion corresponds to those in the motion already dispensed with.
2 questions. Does the clerk confirm that the General Oversight proceedings have been dispensed with?
Yes, it does.
And does he confirm that there are similarities between certain issues that have been dispensed with and those in the impeachment motion?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Quickly, I want to refer you to page 531.
Yes.
And I want you to confirm whether the witnesses or the officers stated in the second part of the letter, 1, 2, 3, and 4, testified before the County Assembly.
Yes, they did.
And were you supplied with witness statements?
No.
Did you ask for them?
Yes.
In respect of the evaluation committee that you are referred to lastly by counsel, my learned friend who cross-examined you last, what was your role in appointing any of those members?
No role whatsoever. No role.
Were you consulted at all as to the composition of those committees?
No.
Are you then responsible in any shape or form for the composition of those committees?
Not at all.
In respect of the procurement process, I just want you to confirm whether or not procurement is a function in the department in respect of which the letter of appointment to Mr. Odinga pertains.
Yes, it sits in the Department of Finance and Economic Planning.
And if you exercise general oversight in respect of that department, if you asked about any documents pertaining to procurement, would you be overstepping your brief or overstepping what you are able to do?
No, not at all.
Did you make any requisition in respect of the renovations to your office?
Not at all. I did not.
All right. Now, are there any instances, to your knowledge, Bwana Deputy Governor, when you are not the Deputy Governor of Siaya County?
Since my inauguration?
If you have any privileges that accrue to you as Deputy Governor,
Yes.
is there a time when you are not entitled to those privileges?
Not at all. I am Deputy Governor even over weekends, even at night.
Do you ever take a break from it? Do you take leave from the position as deputy governor?
No.
And those privileges should then accrue to you consistently?
Consistently.
Okay. In respect of the issue about you reporting the fact that you had been excluded from cabinet, you said you wrote to the Primary Oversight Authority.
Yes.
Which was the county assembly.
Yes.
Now I want you to quickly look at page 563. 563 in DG5.
Yes.
What is that letter about?
563 or 564?
563.
Notice of County Executive Meeting held on Thursday, 27th April 2027.
What is the contents of that letter?
So this letter was addressed to the governor.
Mm-hmm. What are you saying?
Yesterday I was in your boardroom at the appointed time. I was informed by your secretary that you were having briefing sessions with some CECMs in your office, and that I would be called as soon as the cabinet meeting convened. I made my way back to your boardroom at around 2 p.m., but I was stopped by your security and a few goons that you had given express instructions that I should not be allowed to attend the cabinet meeting. I obliged and quietly went back to my office.
We're running out of time. I'm sure the members will take the opportunity to go through that letter.
Yes.
You are complaining about being excluded from cabinet.
Yes.
Has the governor ever responded to that letter?
No.
All right. What about the next letter, 564?
So I then wrote a letter to the county secretary, and I copied the speaker of the county assembly and the chair governance committee, county assembly of Siaya. Cabinet meeting held on 9th May 2023. County secretary, I copied the governor as well. I'm reliably informed that there was a cabinet meeting yesterday morning between 7 to 9 a.m. in the governor's boardroom. If this is true, then what happened, as you have been sharing all formal notices with me on my WhatsApp separately from physical copies delivered to my office? I wish to remind you that as an elected leader and the deputy CEO of this county, I have a constitutional right and duty to attend cabinet and prosecute matters therein. Please note that any reoccurrence of this would be a serious breach of the Constitution, for which you will be held singularly and severally liable.
Have you received any response to that letter?
No.
It's copied to the governor. Have you received any response from him?
No.
From the speaker of the county assembly, that is the primary oversight body?
No.
All right. Now, lastly, Bwana DG.
Yes.
Do you believe, or do you believe that there have been any grounds established against you for your impeachment?
Not at all. This, for me, was a political witch hunt.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good, honorable members, we have 35 minutes. We have 35 minutes, and I request that if there is anything that has been, there is any cross-examination that has been maybe cleared, we don't have to repeat ourselves. And I'll start from Senator Manzo.
Yes, Bwana DG, I would like...
Okay, and then after Manzo, the Vice Chair.
I would like to find out from you, from all that has happened between you or in the governance of Siaya County, all these activities which has brought us here, what will you describe your relationship with the governor now? Is it broken, irretrievable, or broken irretrievably?
So, a good one. Chair, and I've said this, I've pronounced myself on this many times, the relationship between governor and I, our difference is ideological, it's not personal. He's my friend, very good friend of mine. So if we can address the ideological governance issues, really, we would, work. And I have said many times that, if my governor called me tomorrow or today, I would run to him and I would show him the loopholes. And once we fix, we would go and work for the people here. Because as we have this protracted battle, service delivery is impacted.
Now that service delivery is impacted on is affected by that relationship, let me end on with this one. Will I be right to say that your relationship with the governor, ideally, in terms of ideology, is irretrievably broken?
No, not at all. It's governance.
You don't have to explain it. It's
Okay, thank you.
You can reconcile. Then, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. DG, it looks like you had only about 3 months of very, very good relationship with the governor, as you put it. I'm just wondering, for the sake of the people of Siaya, how come you did not use internal mechanism to resolve these issues? And as they started, doesn't look like there were many issues. We are talking of about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points only. How come you did not resolve to use internal mechanism for the sake of the people of Siaya? Maybe I could ask and then
Okay.
and then coming to the issue of the sons of and daughters of Alego being discriminated. Did that start after the 3 months, or it started immediately you took office? And in that, all the people who were also interdicted from the county, were they only people from Alego, or we had also other people from other wards who were interdicted? Because that amounted to you going to the press.
Yes. Chair, and with your indulgence, Vice Chair, allow me to start with the last one, and then I will answer the first one. I want to make a general statement that I'm Deputy Governor for Siaya County, 6 sub-counties. However, because of regional balancing, we allocated positions for different sub-counties. Alego Usonga, and I happen to come from Alego Usonga, was allocated the position of Deputy Governor. The first 3 months, I did not witness that. I witnessed that towards November, December, and during the supplementary budget, when we introduced a supplementary budget and then there were reallocations. That, I witnessed that. The people that have either been let go or interdicted, all of them, Vice Chair, come from Alego Usonga. All of them. Now, to answer the first question, I am on record as having said that that is my government. I am part of that executive. So, by the time the Deputy CEO is coming out and talking about some of these things in public, it means that you have tried. And I did try. The first 3 months, excellent relationship with Governor. Towards the end of November, and especially after I started raising those issues, issues around interest, issues around the 18 million on assumption of office, once I started being strict on internal controls and putting brakes on finance, then our relationship started drifting. And by January, but we still continued, I still continued engaging him. But January, he had more or less completely stopped talking to me. So then I went to the electorate, and then the assembly invited me. And then I did my report to the assembly.
Chair, maybe just a quick one, this time on the pending bills.
Yes.
I see that the county had a total of about 1 billion pending, a total of 1 billion
yes.
On pending bills.
Yes.
And the cabinet, which appointed you to chair that subcommittee, approved 800 billion.
818.
Okay, 818.
Yes.
Yeah. You said that you stepped aside from, and you appointed somebody to sit as the chair of that committee. Thereafter, a bill of 176
yes.
was sneaked in, according to your words.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, was this 176 part of this pending bill, or it was a current bill?
And that's my problem.
It was not part of the pending bills that were authenticated and validated by the pending bills committee. The pending bills committee had a 1 billion pending bills. They went through them and authenticated 818. Now, 176 was snaked on the 29th of March. And I questioned and I said, so where is this coming from? 176 is not pocket change. We need to do internal audit to verify. And then, a surprise, the Minister for Roads, because he had already taken documentation to finance, he withdrew the documentation. So I asked the finance guy, and he said it had been withdrawn by the Minister for Roads. And I said, no, that is not enough. We are responsible leaders here. If somebody brings a 176 million claim, he needs to tell us what actually happened. And that's when I wrote the letters I wrote, which have never been responded to. And from then on, I was blocked from attending cabinet.
And you are not aware whether it was paid or not?
I don't think it has been paid. I'm not aware, but the noise I've been making, they can't pay it.
Again now, you still gave instructions and you had stepped aside as the chair of the pending bills, according to the emails which are here. You
Yes.
still gave instructions for some bills to be paid. Were they part of the 800 million?
Yes. So I am the one who gave all instructions as the substantive chair of the Cabinet Committee on Pending Bills. I only recused myself to sit in that subcommittee because of the undercurrents. I mean, pending bills and tenders, and, I didn't want to be painted with the corruption brush. So I decided to recuse myself. But once they were done and it was submitted to Cabinet, then as the substantive chair, I would send mails to the Chief Finance Officer, copy his boss, and copy the acting chair of that Cabinet subcommittee.
So I'll not be wrong to say that you stepped aside, but you are still giving instructions on what to be paid.
Well, no. I wasn't giving instructions on what to be paid. I was a conveyor belt. I was forwarding what had been approved by that Cabinet subcommittee.
Through the chair, a few questions for the Deputy Governor. Honorable Deputy Governor, Dr. Oduol.
Yes, sir.
You are the Deputy Governor and the CEO, Deputy CEO of that county. And from the clip we saw, you were making a statement in front, in federal, where you were accusing your own government. What has compelled you to accuse the government? And why, actually, especially in a public place? And it's done that is by talking to the public in that manner. Don't you think that you are inciting the public against the government?
So, Chair, I want to agree somewhat with the committee member that in my public pronouncements, I was perhaps inciting the public. And the committee member, Abbas, I did this out of frustration. I had been talking to Governor for close to 3 months, and then he stopped talking to me, and then unilaterally took people that were under investigation back to mainstream treasury. And I thought we were going to lose money. And as an elected leader, I report to the electorate. So I thought that was my way of getting attention. And indeed, I got attention from the assembly that summoned me to go and explain.
So, Honorable Speaker, Deputy Governor, are you a signatory to any of the counts in the county?
Not at all. Even Governor is not a signatory.
I know, that's good. Now, when you received the chair, were you able to know, were you aware that the chair costed, the automatic chair costed you 1 million? Are you informed?
No. If you look at the chair, committee member chair, through you, it is an ordinary chair. So I didn't suspect that chair would cost 1 million. There's no value for money there, if you ask me.
When do you come to know that chair that costed that much?
On the 5th, last week on the 5th, and I remember I was supposed to go to the assembly the following day, 6th. So the chief officer governance came to my office to verify delivery. So I said, can I look at the invoice? And that's when I saw 1.1. And I was like,
So
how is this even possible?
What after noticing that this chair costed the county 1.1 million, what action have you taken?
The following day, I was supposed to appear before the ad hoc committee on impeachment. So I told them that I had seen it for the first time. And I will tell you that I have been blocked. I have not access. No, even the chief officers, nobody would listen to me now. So it's only been a week since I discovered this.
Finally, through you, Chair, when you went to the ISPAC meeting in Mombasa, yes, you went by road or flight, by train? You flew to Mombasa or you went by road?
So I took a flight myself, and my aides came by road.
Okay. Now, you said that there were 14 CPA members.
Yes.
From Siaya. Were they coming from the county assemblies or they coming from...
I think the bulk, about 10, came from executive. Assembly, probably ballpark number 4.
And they're all paid by the county?
Yes, yes. Paid for the county.
You have the evidence of that?
Well, I can present it if I'm asked to.
That's it, Chairman.
It's Honorable Richard Onyonga.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Dr. Oduol and team. I'm going to ask you 3 questions, and I do this, Chair, because I sit on the CPAC committee, and these are things that we have been noticing. Question number 1, Dr. Oduol. Once you found out that there were these issues on the amounts of money that were being withdrawn, and according to your observation, the amounts of money were abnormally high, and you raised this issue by saying that according to you, this money was coming through the interest account, and the variations and the quantities was what surprised you. So the first question I would ask you is this. Were you aware if this money had actually been surrendered? You know how you use interest?
Yeah, I know.
Yes. Was the money ever surrendered back? Or does the county executive office still owe does it owes that money to the national government because it's supposed to be surrendered back?
So I asked for documentation. As an accountant, I understand that process. Yes. So when money is withdrawn, you can only know with certainty whether it is legitimate or illegitimate if you look at the backup documents. And I asked, from November when I saw those huge withdrawals, I asked the CFO, can I see the vouchers? Can I see the details of these withdrawals? And they completely refused to afford me that opportunity.
So, Chair, then the next question I ask is, I don't know whether we have the finance officer of the county government here, the head of finance. Because, no. Chair, the recommendation I would like to give is that we actually need a status report on the amount of money which was withdrawn under IFMIS and if that money was surrendered or not. I think it's an important point. If the head of finance is not around, then...
Actually, the chief finance officer was a witness yesterday.
Yes.
Is Mr. Odinga? Was it Mr. Odinga?
Mr. Odinga, but they're not here today.
Yeah, they were here yesterday and we cross-examined. It's only that, this is now appearing.
But I think it's an important point,
yes,
Chair,
yes.
that we need to know exactly whether that money has been surrendered and not. And if not, what was the reason?
Yes.
The second question that I would like to ask you, Daktari, is once you discovered that this money was actually being withdrawn and it was in large numbers, you know that we have government institutions, and that is ESCC, Auditor General's Office, DCI, and the others. Did you report this matter to them, and what was their response?
So I only reported this matter to DCI and ESCC, actually ESCC, not DCI. I reported this matter to ESCC about 3-4 weeks ago after the assembly, the general oversight, when they did not give me the opportunity to go and substantiate I thought that that was a bit unfair, so I forwarded the details to EACC. As we speak, EACC is camped in Siaya. And one of the things, they are in Siaya as we speak. They went there last week. I even have a letter. Unfortunately, I only received it. It is dated 9th June, the letter, from Ethics and Anti-Corruption. Request for documents and information.
No, stop there, Dr. Duo. Which then means to me, Chair, that's another recommendation I'm making that would like, because under CPAC rules and our recommendations, we are allowed to summon the regional office of Siaya County. I think they are stationed in Kisumu, so that they can give us a report on what the general feeling is.
In fact, Senator Onyonga, you're already going into our in-house meeting.
Yeah, point of order.
Chair.
Chair, we need to focus on the impeachment.
Yes,
Then
you know, that's why I'm
principles
saying
come out
Senator
here.
Onyonga is already discussing what we should be discussing.
Chair, that's not what I'm doing. What I'm saying is this. If Dr. Oduol has made allegations concerning what the events have been in Siaya County, shouldn't we have another alternative agency of government to tell us whether what he's saying is true or not?
Point of order, Chair, on the same that my senior is also asking. As senators, our first mandate is oversight. The deputy governor has alleged that the chief officer money has been withdrawn through interest. We have the regulations of the PFM Act, and then you want to guide that we cannot be able to get this substantiated.
Senator Mutinda, you need to listen. What I've said, as a committee, when we retreat, there are some recommendations that we're going to make, and we are not making those recommendations at the plenary.
Chair.
Yes, so that's why I'm saying, as we do our report, we cannot even as we are constituted.
Chair, with a lot of
between
respect.
now and Monday, I don't think we are mandated to call the regional audit office. Don't think so.
In that case, Chair, I will drop in and proceed to the last question.
Yes, please.
But at least you've heard my issues, Chair. The third question I wanted to raise is that if you look at Dr. Oduol discussed the relationship that exists between the IFME system and how the funds are withdrawn, and under those circumstances, who manages the accounts. According to you, when you are observing and making your investigations pertaining to what money was being transferred from the IFME system and where it was going, are you comfortable that actually you are sure enough that this money did not go through the IFME system?
So, even money to interest passes through IFMIST. It is only after it has gone to interest that now you would not know what they are doing with it until they surrender. They can choose to, like, I know what is, well, I don't know whether you are going to say that I need to present evidence. But let me give you a hypothetical example without saying where it is happening. When they are surrendering, sometimes they would say they conducted trainings. And they would give you imaginary receipts for trainings to surrender as a way of stealing money from the county. I didn't say which county, I just gave a hypothetical example. So you can trace, like I am able to know if 7 million, 8 million, as Jaco Dinga was doing, was transferring from interest. I am, in fact, and this is a breach of the PFM Act, because even interest, what my county is doing, they are removing it below the line. That's why when you look at the IFMI statement that I've shared with you from July to March, the description is headquarter something. It doesn't give you the vote head because it's not budgeted.
Yes,
finally, Chair. Finally, Chair. Dr. Duo, our responsibility here is very simple. We are struggling with the issues of whether we need to, how best we can make sure that devolution works and make sure that people get services in our areas, in our counties. And indeed, Chair, I hope you'll not make a ruling on this. Indeed, my feeling is that our job is to come up with a solution on how we can move forward. my colleagues have actually raised two questions about your relationship with Governor James Orengo. What is your sincere belief as to why your relationship with Governor Orengo failed? And do you think there is any possibility that you can work with them, given the fact that we may have to look at all the options and try to make a decision on what needs to be done? Thank you, Chair.
So, Chair, very good question. Again, nothing stops me from working with Governor Orengo. And for me, service delivery is sacrosanct. We have an excellent, and we had, in fact, the first 3 months, we wore the same ties, same suits. We were like Siamese twins with my friend James Orengo. Nothing stops us from going back there. The issues that we have are governance. I mean, let's just fix the fundamental issues that we have around governance, around internal controls, and we would be able to work very closely together. And also, if we could also try and disengage and elbow out the cartels around him.
Chairman,
I know of a similar incident in the past.
Chairman, it looks like this thing of wearing same suit, same ties is a curse to Kenya that we should discourage.
Butinda, then Chimera. Please, Mutinda, please proceed.
Yes, Chair. Yes, Chair. Let me ask a bit differently in regards to your relation with the Honorable Gordon Onguru, the MCO who moved your impeachment. How has your relationship been before and after?
Chair, I have a good relationship with Gordon Onguru, I assume. And I will tell you, of the 42 members of County Assembly, Senator Mutinda, I have an excellent relationship with most of them. In fact, when they voted 42 against 0, I was astounded. And with humility, I just want to say that those transfers that you are seeing month on month informed the decision. They voted with their stomachs and not with their brains.
Chair should withdraw that.
So please, can you withdraw that statement? It is unparliamentary.
I withdraw.
And apologize.
And apologize.
Good.
Okay. My next question is in regards to the whole debate of the East Park retreat that you attended in Mombasa. In your document, DG5, page 578, there we find your invitation letter. DG5, 578. For purposes of time, you could assist him to open also CA3, page 563. CA3, page 563, and DG 578. He needs to have the two documents.
DG?
DG 578. Now, that is your letter for invitation. Yes. Kindly look at pronounce the date.
26th October 2022.
How long did it take for you to be given an impress to be able to travel? Did you have a forward back? Was there a challenge when you did the requisition?
Generally, for the air tickets, because they have to, that they would cater for almost immediately, the air tickets. But for the allowances, most allowances come in late. In my particular instance, and those of my staff, since February, March, they have not been paying us allowances.
But when was this? Could you look at document 563, CA3?
563.
Yes. The impressed approval. Give me the date.
This was in November. The internal memo from Assistant Director Administration to Chief Officer Governance.
So how many days variance did we have there?
How many?
From 26th to 28th, we only had 2 days. So you didn't have a challenge in terms of the approval and the processing of this particular trip?
No. It is not the processing. It is the paying of the allowance.
Yeah, before you pay the allowance, there's definitely a process. There has to be a requisition. There has to be attachment of the letter of invitation.
So this one is my officer, sits in my office.
Yes.
So this would do it almost immediately.
Okay.
The Assistant Director Administration.
So how long did it take for them to approve, if not even issuing the funds, but approve? Would you have an idea? What I'm simply trying to ask you through the chair, did you have challenges in getting this approval? Did any of the officers mention that they are not going to approve? Did you have any challenges at that time in October?
Yes, because I see under subsistence allowance.
Can I repress it for you?
Page 5.
That particular imprest for you to go to Mombasa for a SWAC meeting, was
Yes.
it approved? The payment was approved or not?
Even as at 14th of November, the page 565, on CA3, it had not been approved. The one on subsistence allowance payment schedule.
So you facilitated yourself in terms of...
Yes, the rest of the other things, save
the rest of the
for
other
flights.
things. Yes, and then later is when this payment was done.
It was done.
So how did your team survive in terms of the support team that you were with, the driver, the PA, who catered for the accommodation when you were in Mombasa?
Yes, I finance them sometimes.
No, on that particular, not sometime, but on that day.
I paid for the accommodation.
You paid for the accommodation
Yes.
at that particular time.
Yes.
Now, you've indicated that you have the staff. So in your contract with the staff, what time to what time are they supposed to work with you?
So the national security is attached to me throughout, and because they are two, they go on offs interchangeably. My PA is with me most of the time. My driver also is with me most of the time.
So they are with you throughout?
Yes.
Okay. My last question will rotate in the imprest. And PFM Act 91 is very clear on the amount that is capped for imprest. When you notice that there were these amounts, huge amounts that are being moved from the CRF account to the imprest account, did you question the finance officer on the capping of what the assembly had agreed before you went into really wondering why all these figures were moving from point A to point B?
Very good question. Excellent question. This was my beef, my problem, Chair, with finance. Because yes, the PFM Act mandates and authorizes accounting officers to open imprest accounts. But that same PFM Act encourages accounting officers to set limits on imprest. Siaya County has deliberately refused to set limits on imprest. They do not have limits on imprest. Imprest can never be more than 500,000. We withdraw 4 million every 2 to 3 days. In fact, because of that, Senator Mutinda, last week, because I kept asking Jack Odinga, I wrote a letter to Control of Budget asking to give me an advisory on imprest caps and whether it is within their mandate to prescribe caps. So I'm still waiting for a response.
Okay. You know, Chair, I sit as a finance vice chair, and I also sit in the oversight committee for county investment committee. And as we speak, we are trying to have a bill to see if we can give the county assembly an autonomy to be able to use these funds. So when my colleague, Senator Onyonka, and I try to get to understand about this funding is because we also want to support the MCAs in the county assembly so that they have independence. And at this point, we also try to understand, because as a member, then my opinion really is concerned for the 47 counties, and that's why we are also keen on this, how this interest is moving as members. So lastly, you've talked in your evidence that 2 million was stolen. So simple question, what evidence do you have that this 2 million was stolen? Do you have documents? What do you have?
So what I have is the IFMIS statements. And when I asked the CFO for finance, he said, and he has reported that to the general oversight, that there was also another attempt on the 2 million, but they stopped it. Now the concern I have as an accountant that understands how IFMIS operates, if indeed it was stopped and it was a debit, there needs to be a reversal, a credit. Those two instances, the 5.4 million in December and the 2 million in March, I have not seen reversals subsequently, whether in March or in April.
And do you know then who is the custodian of the funds as you speak? Because PFM Acts direct also when interest is withdrawn in terms of cash, then it can also be put in a safe. So would you be able to guide this committee in your wisdom where you think these funds could be?
I have no idea. I would be speculating. What I have done, I have forwarded.
It is enough. The moment
I've forwarded to.
You don't have an idea.
Yeah.
You stop there.
So lastly, on your appointment as the chair for the committee for pending bills.
Yes.
Who appointed you?
The governor.
Who suspended you from the committee?
I have not been suspended.
But we have the guy called Wahia. Dismas Wahia.
Oh, Wakla. Wakla. Dismas Wakla.
Dismas Wakla. Oh, yes. Sorry for that. Dismas Wakla. You've stated in your submission in the morning that Dismas Wakla was nominated to hold as chair. Who nominated Dismas Wakla?
So when I was appointed chair in the cabinet subcommittee as chair, I recused myself and I asked the remaining membership to nominate amongst themselves temporary chair. And that's when they nominated Wakla as a temporary chair.
Why?
Because of the political undercurrents. I did not want to be, because of these things, because some people thought that I was going to make money from pending bills.
So in short on this, so you stepped aside.
Yes, I did.
Willingly, you stepped aside. Yes. So as we speak, so Dismas Wakla is the substantive chair of this committee.
No, actually, Dismas Wakla was minister in the previous administration. We worked with him for, I think, 2 months, and then somebody else took over. When he left, they nominated architect Jared Oluoch. So in subsequent mails, you're going to see GROT instead of Dismas Wakla. And they were temporary chairs.
Okay,
yes,
thank you,
I think that's
Chair.
enough. We'll give other members opportunity. Please, Jimera and Mofai and Catherine. Catherine, you'll close.
Thank you, Chair. Just a few questions, Dr. How many CCs serve in the county government of Siaya?
10.
10 of them.
10 of them.
Why is it that only one CC seemingly has to also brief you and not the other 9? And I'll be direct, the CC for finance. Why finance?
So that is the discretion of the governor. And I suspect, because of my background and experience in finance, he probably thought that my skills were better used in finance. But that does not mean that I could still not handle the rest of the other responsibilities, but that's his discretion.
Did your supervisory duty also extend to other departments in the county government of Siaya?
Not quite.
So your primary focus was on finance?
Finance, yes.
Okay. You're on record out in the public there,
yes,
about withdrawals.
Yes.
And you've made heavy weather about those withdrawals.
Yes.
What were you trying to get at? Were you trying to paint a picture that the county government of Siaya
is engaging in corrupt activities, perhaps?
Good question. I mean, Senator Chimera, if you watched the video earlier, the CECM for Finance admitted that in February, 3.1 withdrawn. In March, 2.5.
My question is very direct. It's very direct. I'm asking you, were you trying to paint a picture that the county government is corrupt, up to the highest office in Siaya?
Yes, and I was trying to stop the pilferage, the corruption.
No, Governor, please, I've not asked you that question.
Yes.
You said yes.
Yes.
The other question now, what is the direct link between these withdrawals, the huge withdrawals, and perhaps the governor of Siaya County government?
Now, apart from the discussion I had with Jack Odinga, I do not have any verifiable direct link. I was told, and I went to ask him, and he declined. But he did not prefer sanctions on people that were withdrawing.
So there is no connection whatsoever between staff withdrawing those huge amounts and the governor of Siaya County?
If there was no correct connection, he would have punished or he would have stopped.
Daktari, again, you're not answering my question. It's a yes or no answer.
No.
Okay, thank you. The other question I have, you've been accused of misleading the public. That is one of the charges before us here, before you rather.
Yes.
In your statement, perhaps you can go through it, paragraph 102.
Which one?
This should be DG2. 102.13, number 2. DG2. That is your witness statement, isn't it? DG2? Perhaps your counsel can help you?
Yeah, I have it.
Are you there?
Paragraph 10.
Which page, paragraph?
That's page 46, Chair.
Right.
It is 102.13.
Yes.
Number 2.
Yes.
Page 46. Can you read that particular paragraph?
Further, Austin Otieno was dismissed without following due process of law. He was given an interdiction letter and dismissed from work without first being given a letter to show cause why he should not be terminated. It is not due process of law, as in the case of Austin Otieno, to interdict an employee and later on ask him to show cause. And I have an annexure of the interdiction.
Yesterday, the CS testified before us here.
Yes.
And it was very clear that due process was followed. In fact, I think it is one of your documents.
Yes.
It is one of your documents, just a copy of that interdiction letter.
Yes.
And which actually asked him to show cause why you should not be dismissed. Is that information not misleading before this committee?
No. Ideally, what would have happened is there should have been a show cause, and then they would decide whether it is interdiction or termination. But the other thing, a fact that I need to bring to your attention, committee member, is that Austin was accused of assault fighting in a political forum. He hasn't been shown his accuser. There is no OB statement from the police. So there's not.
Chairman, I think we're not prosecuting the question of Austin in.
Austin actually is the next witness.
Yes.
The next witness. So I think let's leave Austin's issue because we'll question it properly.
Let's go to the other issue. This seeds and fertilizer tender.
Yes.
How much was it for?
80 million.
80 million.
Yes.
You seem to really have had a very direct interest in that particular tender.
Not at all.
I've not asked the question.
Okay.
Yeah, please, I'm just laying a base for that question. Your procurement officer told us here very clearly that the categorization it had been reserved for the youth. Today I sit in this Senate representing the many young men and women of this great nation. I am shocked that a whole deputy governor of your caliber and stature would actually want to deny the young men from Siaya County not to benefit and participate from this tender. What was your direct interest in that particular tender?
It's a very good question. First, Chair, I am very supportive of the youth, the women, and people living with disabilities. One of our 9-point agenda as Nyalore team was to promote that. The only reason I ask this it's not because I am not supportive of the youth. The reason I ask this is because there was a weekly Citizen publication that was portraying us in bad light and talking about
before you proceed with that line of thought, is it correct to say that you actually requested to have that category be changed?
Yes, I did.
Thank you, thank you. Isn't that not interfering with the procurement processes?
I did that as a result of the publication that had appeared
Governor, don't frame your own question and answer it, please. I'm very direct here. You're saying this tender had been floated and meant for the youth. You had reservations with that category. You sought to have it changed, isn't it?
Yes, I sought to have it changed, and Okwata explained himself, and we did not change it. Yes, we didn't change it.
It is my question. Do not frame your own question.
We didn't change it.
You didn't change it?
No.
But you proposed to have it changed?
I suggested, but
isn't that not interference?
I deferred it to the professional.
Isn't that not interference?
You see,
even in a very layman kind of sense.
No, it is not. As a CEO, I also have a mind of my own. I made suggestions, and I was overruled by the professional.
Thank you. Finally, on the issue of the procurement of shares, you are a man of tests. It is apparent. You're a man of tests.
I am flattered.
Are you trying to tell this committee that a whole DG, you were in Mombasa, and you had no idea what kind of chairs were being procured for your office?
Even if I had the idea, I would not buy a seat of this standard at 1 million. I mean, this is madness.
So
what I have seen here.
These seats were delivered to your shock?
No, not to my shock. The seat is standard seat that you and I would sit on. But as to the value and price is another discussion.
Thank you, Chair. No further questions.
Good. More fire than Catherine.
Thank you, Chair. Deputy Governor.
Yes.
Please listen to my wording very correctly. In a case, please underline the word in a case, you survive this impeachment. How do you intend to relate with the MCs whom you have just branded and grinding, gratiners, who voted with their stomachs and so forth, as they are in the back in Siaya?
So the role of the MCS is oversight, legislation, and representation. I expect them to oversight us effectively and efficiently. And as long as you are working within the confines of the law, you have nothing to worry about.
Another one, Deputy Governor, on the same issue that my good friend Chimera just raised, the issue to do with these chairs that we have just been brought before this committee. Did you use them at any given time?
Use them, yes. I sit on one of them.
Did you get to know that they were 1.1 million chair?
I answered, but yes, I only got to know last week on the 5th, when I was supposed to appear the following day on the 6th, when the chief officer came to verify whether those seats were delivered. That's when I saw the invoice.
Did you object that this is not the chair that you really intended to? Because you have just dismissed the chairs just from this.
I asked him, how would this chair cost 1.1 million? I asked. I was shocked. I was very shocked. Because it's a standard chair.
Thank you, Chairman. That's all.
Good, Catherine, and then Omugeni will close before I also say the last one.
Thank you, Chair. My first question is reference to a document you pointed out, page 613 of, which one is this? Is it DG5? No. Is it? Which one is it? DG5, page 613. Are you sure? The document council is unclear. Does anybody have, what document is that? And the next one, on the next page, I would want to legible documents.
We can organize legible copies. I think the problem is that we photocopied a black and white from a colored paper.
What document is it? What document is it?
Something to do with this pack. I see at the top right.
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
The documents are indexed. At the beginning of the document, there is an index. We can supply a clear copy of the document.
The reason it's important because I think when DG was speaking, he pointed that as the letter of invitation.
No. There are two.
It is what? What is it?
This one is a different one on financial reporting for county governments in public sector.
What is it about?
This was an invite for, this was, is it January? I have a better copy. I have a better copy in one of my files. But this was a different one. This is different from the one that was a keynote speaker in November.
Then let's move to DG5, page 578 now. That is the ISPAC invitation. 578. The meeting that was held in Mombasa. DG5, page 578.
Hey, mine ends at 626.
It's, if you DG5, there is 578, goes all the way to 5.
Yes, I'm there.
Can you see a letter?
Yes.
Now that letter is written to CPA Oduol William Odiambo.
Yes.
Member number this.
Yes.
Why do you say that this is an official invitation to you?
This letter on its own needs to be read with DG 581.
Where is DG 581?
581, a couple of pages.
Yes. Is that a letter?
Yes, what does it say? What does it say?
This is just a brochure.
Honorable William Oduol, who? CPA or
no, this
deputy?
Is a brochure.
What does it say?
You are a governor, yes, you are a deputy governor.
So, and this is from ISPAC.
I'm afraid this is not an official invitation.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, when a person is invited in their private capacity, what they normally do in order to be funded by the public funds is actually to request to be funded for a reason that this occasion will benefit the public in the following manner. Do we have any such internal memo?
Can I respond, Chair? And
respond, yes.
It needs to be responded, and this question needs to be answered together with 581 and 582.
Yeah, please
if
answer,
you look at
answer exhaustively because it's recurring. It's the same thing that is recurring.
And I prosecuted this by responding to the presentation.
Please
or
just respond to my question.
What is your question?
My question is, the letter is to you as a private member of ISPAC. Did you follow the correct public procedure before to request funding for this activity, which even when I go through, I've gone through that. It is actually a private. It was an ISPAC.
ISPAC is a professional body. Chair,
what she has asked you is when you received the invitation in your own private capacity as a CPA member 40-something, did you, maybe you, in your own wisdom,
yes,
maybe you saw it that it is beneficial with the county. What did you do internally? Did you then
start
the process request?
First,
that's the question.
That is the question. Let me ask you,
let me answer, because you've asked the question. So first, I need to mention, and this was prosecuted by the Minister for Finance last week, that Siaya County today does not have a policy on seminars.
Please, can the witness answer
yes,
my question?
Did you initiate any process?
Yes, I did. My administrative officer initiated a process, requisition, that went to the Chief Officer Governance, approved. If he felt it was not benefiting the county, he would not have approved. I've mentioned, he doesn't even report to me. The only department is finance.
Honorable Chair, requisition can only happen after approval that the funding will actually be deployed.
But the
That
accounting
is your
officer
department.
is the chief officer in governance, is the accounting officer. I wouldn't know.
I hope you've noted. Mr. Chair, I will not continue. Mr. DG, what are your roles as DG in government, or what responsibilities have you been assigned as DG?
I am the principal assistant to the governor. And like I said earlier, he had asked me to superintend over finance, which is a huge responsibility.
Did he provide that responsibility in writing?
Yes, yes, yes.
So you have
Yes.
responsibility to superintend over finance in writing?
Yes.
I have seen, the reason I'm asking, you have referred to the letter appointing Mr. Odinga as the letter conferring responsibility to you.
It does.
No, please, just listen to me. Is that the letter that you're telling us that confers responsibility to DG, or there is another letter?
No. That is the letter.
There is no other letter that confers responsibility to you?
None.
Honorable Chair, that letter actually asks the officer being appointed to act to brief the DG. I don't know that it confers responsibility to superintend over finance to the DG. But be that as it may, assuming it does, what policies, as you are trying to get the systems, the financial systems of Siaya County, what policies did you, during this period, before things went south, did you come up with any policies to guide on financial protocols? Now, the reason I'm asking this, the PFMA, procurement are actually methodical systems. The things don't just happen. There are procedures that are followed to process payments, and I would want to know, having found, as it would seem, that there is no policy that works there, what have you done, or what policy did you put in place to guide financial management in Siaya while you are the superintendent over the financial systems?
So that's a good question. And to answer that, the Minister for Finance earlier on alluded to the fact that we are trying to sort out hygiene issues, particularly with Imprest. I am the originator of the process flow with regards to Imprest. In terms of when you surrender, setting up limits with the banks, by the accounting officers, and ensuring that the surrender is done within 90 days. So those are some of the policies that I suggested.
Have you thought through the policy on who initiates payments?
The user department usually initiates payment.
No, I'm talking about you guiding on policy.
It's a user. If you ask me, it's that the payment should be initiated by the user department.